Hello, this is Not Too Interesting with Mad Max, some guy I met on the Chud's Discord server. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. And you?
Very good. Very good. First time ever on the history of this channel, a conversation with no pre-planned topic.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
tell you what.
that'll be interesting.
So tell you what. What do you want to talk about? Anything at all. Balls in your court.
Um. All right. Let's see. There's a lot to talk about. I mean, with my point of view, uh, we could try. I don't know, like the difference in in races and why it's better for people to be with their own.
Let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Okay. So, um, gee, I don't. I'm just like, there's a lot to cover with that. Let's see. I go yeah. You ever heard? Are you a fan of Muhammad Ali and his quotes?
Yes, I believe I watched a video where he said if you look at nature, the birds flock with the birds that look like them. The yellow birds flock with the yellow birds. The blue birds flock with the blue birds. He said there's
Right.
nothing wrong with being with your kind. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, that's kind of really like my point of view. Like, it's very demonized for white people to be with their own, and it's really retarded as to why. I mean, that's like a whole nother rabbit hole. We can get down that if you wanted to, but it's being pushed in the media. I mean, everywhere. You probably already know where my point of view lies with that and who controls the media. I mean, there's people scoff and laugh at that, but you could literally look up. The names are all there.
The men with the
Fox.
J word. The
Yeah,
men with the J word and who don't like non-kosher things.
yeah. The tiny hats. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But they control
All right.
central banking all over, and like they have a lot of sway and power. Uh, I mean, that's not hard to look into it either. I mean, the biggest example, obviously, the Rothschilds. That's not their actual names. There's all kinds of, you know, branches on this tree, as it were. Um, but what did you have any like questions for me, like in the regards of like how I got these views or um, how I
One
came
thing
to this?
I'll say first and foremost is this: if you think there's an interesting rabbit hole we need to go down, do not limit yourself. Do not second guess yourself in saying it. Freedom
Well,
of
yeah,
speech is my strong belief.
I know,
So
I
go
agree,
down
but
those rabbit holes.
it's this will be longer than an hour if I'm allowed to.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Okay,
Okay.
but I'll say this. I'll say this. Is it from a practical or a philosophical point of view? That's your main goal,
Uh,
saying races need to be with races, because there is a practical point I could admit, saying that from a
yeah.
practical perspective, a black man is going to have a lot more in common with a black woman. You could make the argument they could have a deep relationship because the cultural
Right.
barrier wouldn't be there. Same with a
Hmm.
white man and a white woman and an Asian woman and an Asian man. So is it something like along those lines, or what could it be?
That's also a factor, but there is stuff like genetics wise. I don't think on a genetic level that the different races like that are compatible. I mean, you could see like a good one like a way to like put it is for instance like surgery, right? People need like organs or whatever, and like they have to get like donators. Well, a lot of mixed race people can't donate organs because they're not like they'd be very specific. And people have this, I've heard this misconception out there where it's like, oh, yeah, you want to mix your race as much as possible because then you get like all this diversity of genetics, and you're stronger, and it's farther from the truth. You're susceptible to more things, more diseases. um there are a lot of cons than there are. I don't think there really are any pros because you also have the sense of lost identity being mixed race, and not being just like black or white or whatever.
Mm, kind of like how it doesn't make sense to mix poodles and German shepherds. You
Yeah.
like the diversity of those being two separate things.
Yes,
You
exactly.
don't. A poodle and German shepherd mix is not necessarily a better dog than
No.
a pure
Yeah.
German shepherd and a pure poodle. Is that your lines?
I mean, that's kind of, I guess that's the way to summarize it. Yeah. There's that. I mean, it's just we're just different, and that's okay. Like I'm not like the T&D thing is a funny meme, but I would say most third positionists or nationalists or national socialists, whatever you want to consider yourself, at least the rational ones, don't want to just genocide everybody. Um, that's kind of like a Hollywood Nazism misconception, really. And there are those siege tards out there, the James Mason types, but they're very few and far between.
What
Um,
is a siege tard?
so the book Siege. It was a controversial book that was it's like a compilation of like this newsletter that this neo-Nazi group was putting out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty thick book of just stuff, but there's a whole lot I disagree with it in. But I mean, there's some kernels of like broke clock is right twice a day. Some kernels of truth in there, but a lot of it is in my eyes kind of reprehensible. Um, it's very much like it's almost like National Socialism meets anarchist, like just fuck everything, kill all the non-whites. Like it's really ridiculous.
Well, you could make the argument that from a white supremacist point of view that you still wouldn't want to kill every non-white person because if you believe white people are good at some things, you must believe that other races are good at some things, and that
Right.
for the prosperity of the white race, you must allow other races to do those things so the white
Right.
man may profit. So on those lines, I could see why a National Socialist wouldn't want to kill every race.
Well, I mean, not only that, I mean, being a Christian, I don't agree with just wholesale murdering people. It's not a good thing in my book. But yeah, trying to think of where else to go with this.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah, sure, sure.
From a young child, I remember there's often these pictures of black men and black women and white women, and
Yeah.
like now that you mention it, it almost like could you often make the argument that it's against diversity
Yeah, very much so. It's the
because if
mixing. It's a mixing
everyone's
of all the races instead of keeping them as they are. It's like when you have I forget what you call it. Like that little paint thing you have on your like you put your thumb through and you have like all the little different like little paint things you put on there, and then you take a brush and you take colors from that and put it on the canvas.
a palette.
Yeah, uh, if you mix all those colors together, you can't get the colors you had back. It's better to keep those colors as they are than mix them all together. Then you have just the big ugly brown mess.
All right. No offense to ugly brown people. I'm a brown person myself and I'm attractive, but I understand how some of you feel.
well, well, I didn't mean that like in that sense, but like I think if you literally mix all those colors, you would get like some sort of brown or
I
something,
understand, I understand, I
like a
understand. Those are
gray. Yeah,
I understand, I understand.
yeah.
Those are but I will say I think it's almost funny where like it isn't true diversity because I've often said this. I don't really think Hollywood, if they actually talk to an African, would like what they have to say.
Yeah,
If they
no.
talk to an Asian person, they wouldn't like what they have to say because they're into their ideology and they just see skin color as something good in their ideology, but anything deeper than that, they don't like.
Well, yeah, they use minorities as a tool to get their agendas pushed through. They don't really care about the people they're using at all.
True, true. It's almost
And
funny because
oh, sorry,
you
I'll
could,
let you go.
you could, like
Oh,
my
okay.
joke is this: you could say in a real way, they're more homogenous and they're more obsessed with homogeny and
Hmm.
everyone having the same belief system than the Nazis, than the nationalists. It's
Hmm.
often funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, what were you
Uh,
saying, bro? Sorry to take away from you. What were you
no,
saying?
no, no. I mean, that's probably going to happen a lot. Where we're stepping on toes here. It's off the cuff, so it's expected.
Hmm.
Uh, One thing I would like to broach the subject on is we kind of got like towards the conversation of like civil rights. Is I like have you ever heard of Rockwell, like George Lincoln Rockwell?
No.
No. Okay, so he was an American figure, the U.S. guy. Fought in the World War II. I think on a he was on a ship. I forget his whole story. I have my like memory gets memory hold. I learn stuff and then some pieces go away from me, unfortunately.
Hmm.
But he fought in World War II. He was staunchly against the Nazis. Like, oh, we got to beat them. We got to do this. We got to do that. And after the war, he like kind of got like red pilled and found out the truth and was like, well, this we kind of like fought like the wrong enemy. Like even Patton had said that uh, before he was what I believe was an assassination. He was killed. Um, he said that we fought the wrong enemy. We should have sided with the Germans to beat the communists. Instead, we beat Germany, and the communists just were allowed to exist, and they invaded our country. And I mean, the way America is now is because of them. It's the Marxist Bolshevists, which are largely Jewish. People like to call it the Russian Revolution, but it was anything but. I mean, there were Russians in it, sure, but it was mostly Jews. There were some Chinese and some other groups involved in the ruling class at that time. So there's that, and then I would say Martin Luther King. He wasn't genuine. Malcolm X was the real thing, and I think Martin Luther King was a CIA plant.
But who shot him?
I think towards the end, he was getting out of hand, and they couldn't reel him in, so they just killed him. I mean, they're not afraid to do that. They'll kill people whenever they want. I mean, they did it to JFK. There's the large loss of life that was the Las Vegas shooting. I don't know what goal that had, but they're not afraid to just kill people for no reason to get in a to, well, not no reason. It's to get an agenda through or do something, but they're not afraid to kill a lot of people.
Let's go deeper into this. I really want to go deeper into the civil rights thing because I agree. As a black person, I think civil rights have done more harm than good to black people.
Right.
But I'll talk about my point later. You go deeper into what you were saying.
Well, basically, I just wanted to say that, like, I think if anything's proof that MLK wasn't the real thing and that Malcolm X was, um, and that is because like George Lincoln Rockwell and Malcolm X actually like saw eye to eye, like like they were cool with each other. They didn't like hang out or anything, I don't think, but like they respected each other and understood each other, and they had their own goals for their own people. And I think Martin Luther King was kind of like they're trying to like throw the wrench in the gears with that guy and trying to like do more damage.
Hmm. All right. Almost like they like counter up. Like what do you call it?
Like a psyop or
No, it's like when you prop up your own counter arguments. So you already
oh
have, what do you call that?
yeah, controlled opposition.
Oh yes, yes, yes. Controlled opposition.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's basically the state of conservatism today. You put like Charlie Kirk, totally controlled opposition. Alex Jones has been, that for a while, if not his entire career. I think. You have people like Dennis Prager, Jew, telling they're basically the gatekeepers of what's okay to think for the conservatives. And if you even like, or like Ben Shapiro for that matter, if you even criticize juice slightly, everybody like loses their minds, and it's like, why is there this crazy reaction if nothing's going on? You know,
Good point. Good point. I
it's not
never
a big
thought of it
deal.
that.
Everybody gets criticized, but when you do it to this one group of people, what was that one quote? Is it Voltaire or somebody? It's like, if you want to find out who rules over you, find out who you cannot criticize.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's it. I never thought of it like that. My issue with civil rights always was, and I think this was intentional, but people wrote it because if you're a powerful politician and people you don't like say you must make laws to accommodate them, you're
Right.
going to write it and make it in such a way that it backfires on them as much as possible. And I think civil rights in America do the same thing.
Hmm.
Civil rights, what they do is they incentivize and they give bonuses to essentially being in need of protection, I'll call it.
Right.
By you giving black people this out, where, oh, people have to accept you for a job. People
Yeah.
have to have a certain number of you in this job, in this field. It makes it so you are incentivized as a community to never excel. Because
Yeah.
if a community,
You're basically stunting them. That you're
yes,
not allowing them to like grow
yes, because think
naturally.
about it. If black people actually did well and they became part of the ruling class of America, like on
Mm.
the same level as white people, as Asians, as all these high and mighty folks who know themselves, who have mastery over themselves and their impulses, they wouldn't be eligible for civil rights anymore. They wouldn't have these benefits. They wouldn't have the fame, the status put on, and they wouldn't be protected people anymore.
Right.
They'd be regular people. They'd be commoners. So by them being in this protected bubble, in the protected class of civil rights, by them being civil rights, you're essentially taking away from people who are doing well and giving to them. And they know if they do well, it's going to be reversed. They're going to now have their things, their property, their income taken away from them.
Right.
So in a way, you could say civil rights is a way of trapping black people to making them dependent on the state.
Yeah.
Because civil rights only works and it's only beneficial if you're in need of it. The minute the state knows that you as a group no longer have much need for civil rights and you're self sufficient,
Hmm.
that's when you don't want it anymore. And it's sad because it's almost like a very well designed trap.
Oh yeah. It wasn't just sprung on us, like last decade. This has been a slow, death by a thousand cuts, frog in boiling water. This has been a slow, gradual thing that they push the envelope here and see what they can get away with, and people have a bad reaction to it, like, oh, okay, we got to back off that, and then come back with that like in another 10 years. They keep pushing at it, like the gay thing, or like even transgenderism. Like a lot of people, I think what's red pilling a lot of people nowadays is like the whole issue with transgenderism. A lot of people don't realize that, everyone likes to point at the Nazis like, oh, they were burning books because they hated knowledge. It's like, no, they were burning communist books, but a lot of it also was they were dealing with the transgender problem in Weimar Germany and stuff, and they were
Yes,
trying to get rid of
yes.
that. And those were the books they were burning.
Hmm.
We're basically like we're like at that point, but even further, I think, honestly, like almost that, like we're worse than I think Weimar Germany was at the like current point in time.
I can think of no better ideology to destroy a nation than transgenderism.
Oh yeah, well, transgenderism, you know, I'll just say umbrella term like Marxism or communism, because there is no God under those, and that's how they like it. And with no God, that's where you get hedonism and homosexuality and depraved things like making children cut off their genitalia and ruin their lives forever by making them become trans.
That's something that always got me. Like legally, as a suppose I'm 10. Suppose I was magically a 10-year old again.
Yeah.
I can't drink. I can't drive. I'm not allowed to work.
Mm-hmm.
legally, and they're allowed to work. That's child labor. I can't drive. I can't say, hey, I want to move to this country. Hey, I want to go to this certain school. But if I say, oh, dad, I'm a boy, I'm a girl now,
Right.
suddenly my voice has all this authority. Suddenly I know the world well enough to say that, and I don't need approval from my parents. Something that always stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I could say it's an evil ideology in a way, because what does it do? Like the soldiers in the society, the young men, what do they turn into? These deformed freaks who go around pretending that being a woman is wearing a dress and having lipsticks and looking in a certain way.
Yeah.
Like it would like I honestly believe that transgenderism in general, to me, a big issue with me is it's demeaning to women. It's
Right.
demeaning to women to say that all a woman is her appearance. That if I made a sex bot that perfectly resembled a woman, that would be just as good as a real woman. And that's all a woman is. Like there's
Yeah.
no referral to the inward part.
Right.
And what does it turn men into? What does it turn women into? These want to be men who don't have the soul to be men, and
Right.
who will forever struggle to be men and do things they don't really want to. Like I gotta be honest. Like if a 7-year-old girl came to me and told me she wants to be a girl, I'll ask a man. I'd say, okay, so do you want a peace sign? Like it's fucked up.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
do you know what it's like having a dick? Why do you
Yeah.
want a dick?
I
What,
mean,
what's,
I don't really know why, but I'm not like against it. I mean, I guess I don't want to experience the pains that women do. I guess. I mean, that's one thing. That's a plus, I guess. But you know, I don't know. I guess I've never had the problem where I'm like unhappy with who I like am in that sense. You know, it's more like in the sense of like, well, what can I do to improve? But I
yeah.
guess to them, people with that like mental illness, it like their version of I have to improve myself is I have to become a different sex, or something.
And it's a darkly funny fact. Like it's dark. I
Hmm.
don't want to say it, but that's not the solution. The suicide rate proves it's not the solution.
Yeah, no, because people realize what they've done to themselves, and they immediately literally ruined yourself. You're done. You can't pass on your genes. You're genetic dead end now, and they're this is harsh, but in my worldview, if I was in that situation, there literally is no reason to live because you can't like you can't have children, you can't do anything like that. It's like your whole reason for being. God said, "Be fruitful and multiply." Now you can't do that.
I really say it's almost like telling, say, a lion you have to live like a house cat. Now,
Yeah,
like imagine a woman who can't have any children, like being a
yeah,
mother and being a wife. No man worth being a wife to would really want to mess with you like that. I'll put it gently. And now you can't have any children.
hmm.
And if you're a man, like damn, like
Yeah.
shit, like imagine looking down and not seeing your dick anymore. That must be
Y-
crazy.
yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of like, what's it called, like phantom limb. I'm sure that people experience that.
Yeah. Damn. Uh, anyway, but
Yeah.
why do you think they go for children? Like I think they go for children because they know they can't logically say why it's a good thing to just use pedagogy and like
Right.
brainwashing the youth.
Well, here's the thing. It's like part of my worldview. A lot of people get like, like, oh God, it's the religious, retarded again. But like, a lot of this stuff stems from it's just satanic. It's evil. And, you know, the devil will find work for idle hands to do. Uh, and it always boils down to like even the elites. It's like I was like a normie conservative in like 2016, and then like like spirit cooking and like all the shit with the Clintons and Pizzagate came out, and I was like, holy shit, they're just literally eating and like sacrificing children. Okay, you know,
Mm. What do you mean
it's
eating children?
crazy. Oh yeah, no, they do. Yeah, they sacrifice children. They eat them to some extent. I mean, like even if you look into it, like the shit they put in our foods, like there's like fetal cells and like Fritos and stuff. They have a funny little cute nickname for it, but like there's stuff like that in our food. Like I would basically say eat nothing you could buy at a store unless it's like mostly organic. Like even organic isn't 100% safe, but I would try to stay as natural as possible if you can. If you can't, I mean it is what it is. But like I don't know. I love raw milk. I've had raw milk. It's not bad for you. It's great. Um, there's nothing wrong with it. I used to I need to get back into doing it, but I used to like you know what slonking is?
What's slonking?
So it's when you take eggs, right? You crack them. They're kind of like the Rocky, like you do raw eggs.
Hmm.
And I was kind of surprised actually when I started doing it. It was uh when you cook eggs, it's like man, they're self filling. I can only eat like two or three, but and in their raw pure form, like mixed with how I do it is I mix it with some milk and then some maple syrup. Then I'll either like blend that or shake it up, however. And I could knock that back, and I could still feel hungry. And it's like 12 eggs, and
Wait,
I feel energized. I feel great.
wait. So it's 12 eggs or more or less with
Yeah,
maple syrup.
however many you want to do. I started at like 10, and I worked up to 12 a little. I added a little bit more. You could start like low number like 5. It doesn't have to be a huge number. I just wanted like it to like really get like a good amount of protein.
And these are raw mixed with maple syrup, and that's it.
Raw, and I do like a cup of milk. I do some or like around that about, and then I'll do like some like a little bit of maple syrup in there, so it's like got a sweet flavor to it. But yeah, it's just a bunch of raw eggs. Uh, you could scramble them like in the in the blender or like with a whisk if you want, and then like pour it in the cup or whatever. But yeah, I it's just raw eggs, milk, and a little bit of maple syrup, and you just drink that.
Damn, I've been trying to bulk up for a while. I might need to try that.
Yeah, there's actually a famous bodybuilder. His name was Vince Gironda, and
Hmm.
that's what he did. He did he slonked eggs. Funny name for it, but it is what it is. And he like trained celebrities to like get good like in shape for roles, and I think that's what he had them do. So like Arnold and stuff. Like Arnold went to him, stuff like that.
Damn, a whole carton of eggs. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, he would. Yeah, he would do a lot. I mean, you could if you live rurally like me, you could either go to the store or buy them off a local farm. But yeah.
that's another big thing. I don't like how corporations and companies, and even the governments around the world, they're trying to control the food supply and making it so it's so expensive to farm. There's so
Oh
many
yeah.
regulations you need to abide by.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like they're not going to stop until only billionaires could farm.
Yeah, like Bill Gates buying up all the farmland, or Monsanto and stuff like that, and the GMO foods. I'm one of those people. I'm against GMO foods. I don't think we need that. I think the way God made food is fine. We don't need to alter it. Just let it grow and be its thing. Do its thing. Don't don't try to like mess with it.
I think it's hubris.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, really, ultimately, it's playing God. It's thinking, well, I can. This exists, but I can do better. And it's like, well, you're just a human being. You didn't really make anything. You just altered something that already existed.
what country was it? Was it Sweden who sterilized autistic people or people who had mental things? What country was that in Europe again?
Oh man. For sterilization, I have no idea. I mean, I know that they're offering assisted suicide now, like Canada. You know, Canada now. You stub your toe, it's like, well, if you can't afford it, we could always just kill you. You know, like it's
Not
getting
gonna
wild out
lie.
there. I think
I'm not.
Sweden was the first to do assisted suicide. Then it was Canada, but I don't know anything about like the mental health stuff.
No, I was watching this YouTuber. Yeah, rogue scientist. He made this video,
Mm.
and he said that, and it made me think that perhaps things we humans think are inefficient and useless actually serve a great purpose, and
Yeah,
we just don't realize it.
yeah. We can't see it. We can't see the forest for the trees, so to speak.
Yeah, like I gotta be honest. As I get older, I'm starting to realize autistic people may have a gift for not being as socially docile or willing to go along with everyone.
I would agree with that with like in high functioning I guess ones.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't argue Chris Chan, of course.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say he's high functioning, but he's got mental issues to go with that. A lot of them, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many of them actually like have mental like issues. If that's like a huge thing. I mean, obviously they're mentally deficient, but that isn't like there's like abuse that factors into Chris Chan's story, which is kind of sad, but it is what it is. He got on the internet and people messed with him, so made a monster.
I say he made himself into a monster.
True,
Like
but other
if
people
someone
influenced that. A lot of people messed with them and got him into weird fetishes and stuff, and then just kind of left. And you had a bunch of people like going to him, getting him into the stuff and just leaving, and like throwing him to the wind, caution free.
I'm gonna say something controversial.
Hmm.
I believe in all courts we should not allow people to make how'd you say excuses. Like you can't say your father abused you. You can't say your mother abused you. You can't say you were a victim of this, of that, of anything.
Oh, I'm not excusing it by any means. It's what he has done is reprehensible and disgusting. I'm just saying it's a contributing factor. That well, it's the bigger picture. Like we can't just say, well, if we're gonna say he's a piece of crap and or a piece of shit, whatever you want to say, and he's a vile person, well, we have to inspect every piece as to how
No,
he
no, no,
got
no,
to
no.
that point.
I mean in general in court.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't like it with everyone. You cannot say for any past thing done to you that this was a softening reason. You can't have any you cannot have any out. That's my thing because I strongly believe that you know what's right and wrong. You
Right.
truly know. That's why you're saying your father abused you. That's why you're saying these things. If you have enough presence of mind to say, because of this thing that happened to me, I did this, then you also had enough presence of mind and you also have enough sense to know that what you did was wrong. So, thus, your past experiences cannot be used to soften legal punishment. That's my stance on it. What do you
Right.
think?
No, I mean I agree with that sentiment. I just didn't realize you were coming from that angle. I was just saying like we just inspect every piece of the puzzle, to like put it together to see how we got there. I'm not saying the blame was entirely on those people. It's still ultimately his decisions, but
My thing is when you give men and people in general a moral out, they tend to take it.
yeah,
Like, think about it. How much less murderers, and spouse abuse, and all these crimes would happen if it was no longer acceptable in court to say because of X, Y, Z in the past. That's why I did it, or that's what led me to this. What if you just couldn't make any excuse of that sort? unless someone
Right.
was physically threatening you to do the action. You
Yeah.
cannot say because of anything in the past that happened to you, you did it.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay, next topic. Next topic. Balls in your court.
Alrighty.
I've been taken away from you.
Oh no, no, it's good. We've been bouncing off each other. Hopping off of different topics here and there. Um, I'm trying to think of what else we could talk about. Were you pretty much done? Like, did you want to go further into the civil rights thing? I know we kind of branched off a little bit ago, but is there anything else you wanted to talk about regarding that? Or
Well, I'll just say I don't like the philosophy, but that's a big one. Well, you can't give
yeah,
people special rights because
yeah,
what you're
no,
doing is you're almost enslaving the rest of the population to the people who have civil rights. Like it's civil rights. I have, as a member of this protected class,
right?
more rights than the people it doesn't apply to. Like you never have about civil rights for white people, do you?
No,
You never have civil rights for Asian people, do you?
not really. No, I don't think so.
It's like in order for civil rights to work, like the praxis of civil rights is just you're poor, you're disadvantaged, so thus civil rights lifts you up and almost enslaves just the population to you by
Right?
forcing them to give their money and their resources to you as a group,
Yeah,
and by thus trapping you in that same state because you know if you change your state and if you ascended up the ladder, you wouldn't get it anymore.
yeah,
Almost like with people with welfare, like they don't want to get a job if they're on welfare because they wouldn't get the benefits, and their benefits are so good that if they got a low paying job, it might have just been better for them to stay on benefits.
yeah. A lot of people are doing that. A lot of people are, taking the neat life route where they're just they don't have jobs and they're just living off the system because some people just don't like. They think like, what's the point, you know?
Hmm.
But yeah,
Tell me
on the
about.
topic of on the civil rights stuff, like with like the giving other races special rights and others not. My problem with that is it's like, well, and by nature, not even just the races, like animals and all kinds of different species, that we're not equal, and it's unfortunate, but that's just how it is. What you're trying to do is make us equal by using some kind of like fake construct, and it's not going to work. You're just going to make things more uneven. The races are they're different. They don't you can never like be like equal to somebody in the sense of like, well, I don't know, like for instance, like blacks are they don't perform as well, right, in America, like with jobs and stuff, and then even whites are getting like you know kicked out of like a lot of and like tech industries by like Indians or Asians. Asians I think are the highest performing people in America because they're really smart and like technical, like their brains are just wired like for math. It's a racist stereotype, but it's true. you know, um, Stuff like that. And we all have our differences, and we'll never be equal, and that's okay. That's what makes us human.
Because it's almost anti-human to say that we should have a like a s- lesser variety of human
Right.
because that's like someone saying imagine if someone said to you, oh, I want to breed every race of dog together so every race of dog is truly the same, or we're
Right.
all like you could say no, you want different breeds of dog because they're all different and the difference is beautiful.
Right. It's kind of like the question I was always asked as a kid. It's like they always had to ask you like, oh, what's your favorite color? And I could never answer that because I would always just say all of them because I like the colors as they are, and also like you can take a color here or there and make a whole new color. You know,
That's true.
not in the sense of like regards to races, but like I don't know. I just like picking just one, like is like it's just an asinine to me. There's so much more than why limit yourself to just one, you know?
That's true. But I'll say this: what are the differences between the race? Let's get into that. What are the differences?
Where do you want to start? I mean, there's the most obvious one. There's like different intelligence levels. There's um,
Go with
like
the most controversial thing, the thing that would make no leftist want to go on my channel anymore. Let's start off big.
okay,
The
well,
most triggering thing.
you could okay, well, we could go into like I think it's phrenology. Like skull shapes, and
Hmm.
a lot of the Africans. Whereas like Europeans have like a forehead that comes out, right? Like usually white Europeans.
Hmm.
Africans, their skulls have like a sloped thing where in the prefrontal like cortex, like the frontal lobe would have been, but it's not there because
Hmm.
their skull goes in more, so they don't have one, which leads to like they get agitated more easily. They have like hard times controlling themselves when they get like enraged. They're some more subject to anger. Um, reason goes kind of by the wayside when they're in that state. Um, stuff like that. They lack oftentimes they lack agency. It's usually the blacks who are have European admixture who are perform better in those senses because they have those genetics in them. They're not purely just African.
All right, but couldn't you say that's more due to culture?
Well, isn't culture just a product of race? I mean, really? Like the Chinese and the Japanese are both Asian, but they build their temples and buildings differently. They have different designs and different ways they think and do things. That's their culture. It's their race. Race and culture are hand in hand.
Mm. All right, but say if you took an African child and raised him in a European family, would he not act more European?
No doubt, but it's like putting a wolf with sheep. Is it going to become a sheep? No, it's still going to have those feral tendencies. It's gonna still have those emotions or urges. It could be more civilized for sure, but like I said, I would say the more civilized African Americans or wherever Africans in Europe or however you want to say it have European admixture, so they do better. But like if we're talking about like the off the boat Somalis that are like invading in Europe right now, or hell, even Springfield, Ohio at this point, um, they're like completely uncivilized and they're basically savages. They don't they're not on our level. They haven't socially evolved at all. They don't have any of that admixture. Um, yeah.
Hmm. What about Ethiopians?
I mean, I don't know too much about them. I just know that they're an underdeveloped country that's starving, like a lot of uh, black nations that are in like the third world.
No, but Ethiopia is different in the fact that it's one of the first Christian countries. You could say, in fact, it may
Mm.
very well be, depending on which historian you ask. The oldest Christian country in the world is Ethiopians in the Bible. There was the Ethiopian eunuch, for example.
Mm. I don't know too much about that. My only problem with like African countries claiming they're like Christian is that you'll have like they'll say they're Christian and some of them do like not saying they don't, but there's also a large problem where you'll get like they're Christian, they believe in Jesus, but then they like mix it with like like voodoo or hoodoo. They're like really weird like ritual stuff that's like obviously not Christian and could be deemed satanic.
Yes, yes, that's true. Some African countries do that. But with Ethiopia, I'm trying to make example that Ethiopia helped in the Crusades.
Mm-hmm.
There were Ethiopians who did fight in the Crusades to win the Holy Land in Europe back in the day. They
Right.
did do that. There were Christian kings in Ethiopia. There was a king. They did have feudalism.
Okay. Well, I didn't know about that. That's interesting. I'll have to look into that if you want to like after the show or whatever. Send me a link.
Okay. But I'm trying to say, like, at what level do you talk about the human being? Like, you can't just say white people because, okay, are the English as civilized or more civilized than the Russians? That's my example.
Um,
Like, on what level
they're
are we talking
like I
about?
say, there are
Like,
different degrees. The
mhm.
reason I would say whites coexisting with whites in other like in each other's countries is because like that's not a big problem because we're for the most part we're very similar. Like we have very similar standards and rules, and don't do this. We do this here. We don't do that, and that's not really a thing with like in the third world where you have to like fight to survive. That's that's why like the Somalis are like eating people's cats and dogs and stuff because they don't care. They're going to the park and killing and dragging them off to wherever they're living.
All right, all right. Big one.
Stand our culture or our practices, and they don't seem to really care or respect them either. So their mind is wired, and it's purely in like survival mode. They still are living by the rules that they were raised up with in their countries.
Who were the Egyptians?
Is this a we was Kang's argument?
You know, yes, yes. I am going to make the we was kings argument. Who were the Egyptians?
Ugh. Well, obviously they were Egyptian. Uh, I don't.
I never thought I'd ever make that argument. But here we are.
uh,
We was kings.
we was Kang's shit. Oh man. Uh, no, I think they were Egyptian. And like studies, I don't know if like I'm not like well versed in all that. I'm not gonna say like, oh, they're 100% Aryan, phenotype or whatever. But uh, from what I've seen and some of the evidence, they did have fair skin. So there is that, and like some of the hair is a giveaway to that. Like the hair on the remaining corpses. Um,
Hmm?
I don't think that uh, you know the the we was Kang's argument holds any water really. I don't. Yeah, like or the out of Africa theory that was debunked like a while ago. Or
What is the out of Africa theory?
basically, it's people like to argue that like oh yeah like they'll either against like white people who they deem racist or who are racist whatever. They're basically like oh yeah well you hate black people, guess what, humanity came from Africa, so you're part black, like by some small percentage, so you shouldn't be racist because
That
all
doesn't make
humanity.
sense.
Well, yeah, I know,
No, 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 no. Like,
but
I agree.
people,
People came from Africa, yes. But that's like saying, oh, from a wild cat, we bred a house cat. Or is
right.
not the house cat and the wild cat now two different things?
Yeah, but I don't know. That whole theory is just weird. But I do agree at that point. Yeah, I would say at this point they are like oh, you can't even compare like a Chihuahua to like a wolf or a coyote or whatever.
Okay. But why do you don't think the out of Africa theory is true? Because for me, one big piece of evidence was Africans are more diverse, like between the subset of just Africans in Africa. Like the Ethiopian man and say someone from, I don't know, Sudan. They are far more different from each other than say just I don't know if it's true or not than say a German from, I don't know, a Portuguese man. Just like how say two like gorillas in the same clan, gorillas in the same tribe or the same family group are more genetically different from each other than every human being on Earth is different from each other. So that's proof that the gorillas there they existed longer than us. The span of evolution for them has been longer. So you could use that same proof to say humans came from Africa. But I never thought about it like that. Why don't you think people came from Africa?
Uh, I'd have to look back into stuff I found on that, but basically, I think humanity started like in the Caucasus Mountains, like Caucasoid Caucasians, and I don't. That's the difficult thing, right? Is like trying to tack down, like, okay, well, how did we get all these races? And I really don't have an answer to that or how it happened. I just don't think the mass migration out of Africa the answer to that. It seems too simple, and it just doesn't sound right.
Okay, I could get that. Hmm. Okay, choose another race.
All right. Um, Choose another race to like say what?
You know what? Give me the racial stats, the positives and negatives, what they're good at, what they're bad at of any race. Okay, starting from your favorite to your least favorite. Go.
All right. Uh, well, as a fan of Glorious Nippon and their products, I would have to say like probably my favorite, including their inclusion of helping in World War II. Although they kind of biffed it when they got suckered into bombing America. The Japanese, they're pretty high performing. I would say they're basically almost America too, like in the way their system works. They're very much like us. They're even suffering from the same things we are, which is like late stage capitalism. Um, so much so that like they literally sell like if you could think of it, they probably sell it there or are trying to sell it there to make a quick buck because their economy needs it really badly. Um,
It's always funny to me. Like, sorry, I
no,
am
you
a
get.
I am a third worlder myself,
Mm-hmm.
but I find it funny. Well, you get to the point where you're so rich, you lose the point. What is the point of having all this money if your birth rate is below replacement level? Like, you get so rich and you get so high up there in technology that you start to like break down.
Well, that's because we have if it was just us running our countries, it wouldn't be a problem. We wouldn't have these problems, and hell, we probably have some extra money to give here and there. But it's because a lot of the world and our central banking system are ruled by parasites, so they're constantly leeching off us, and they don't want us to procreate, so we're not. They're there's a lot of like the debate you had the pronatalism guy or whatever, or the guy telling his views. Uh, they don't want people to have kids, and if the kids that are being had, they want them to be mixed, because they're trying to make a slave class, that can't really like rise up or like really deep like thinkers. They just want like that's why they're dumping like Somalis into like Europe and America. They're not doing it to like China, right? They're not doing it to like the Middle East. Those people are already like knocked down a few pegs.
They just wouldn't
They,
allow it.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think they'd be able to resist. If all of Europe and America falls and there are no more white people, that's it. It's the Dark Ages, and you know those in power, tiny hats are going to do what they want, and that's their goal. It's the admixture of all the races into one, and well, except for theirs, so they can be the quote unquote pure master race.
But with what workforce?
What do you mean?
Well, if we go to this logical example, suppose I said everything. So I don't agree with everything you said, but suppose I did. With what workforce? Who's going to be their engineers? Are Jewish people going to be the new engineers? Everyone's sort of lesser.
Well,
Both them.
I think they're really overconfident, and I think they think automation could take care of that, and they could just have some like room temperature IQ person just push a button here or there, things will work. But I
But
think
who's going to fix
they're
the
finally.
automation when it fails?
I mean, that's a good question, but I don't think they thought that far ahead, and I think they're starting to regret it because they realize that people on our they're not on their side like they thought they were. Like I don't think they expected the left to do like a 180 on them and attack Israel for killing Palestinians and what's going on right now. I think they expected to be supported. Their golem, as it were, is attacking them.
That is quite a funny meme where like Jewish bankers like behind this black guy and he says, "Go attack them, go attack
Yeah,
them, Goyim."
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and that's another thing is like, uh, I think it's been used by conservatives in a subversive way, like the ones that are gatekeepers, like Charlie Kirk and all that. The whole they're pitting us against us, they're trying to divide us. Well, it's like, yeah, but we were never like really together to begin with. It's they divided Americans, which when I think American, no offense, I think white because that's how this country was founded and how it was for years. They divided us by importing and having people immigrate that were not white into these countries. That was the first. The second part is making the people who came here that are less fortunate or less, quote unquote privileged, as they say, to pit them against the white people and say, "Oh yeah, these people, they're the ones who did this to you," and then just setting them loose on us.
you know what I find funny?
Hmm.
Like third worlders and black people and minorities, they go to countries seemingly to be discriminated against. Like if America is so bad and is so intolerant of brown skin, why are you coming here?
Yeah.
You know, the Europeans, the white people, they're so bad, they're so mean, they're so angry. They have such small dicks. They
Yeah.
make fun of you. They hate you so much, yet you keep coming to their countries.
Right. Yeah. No,
You
it's
keep trying to escape your own country. What's the problem, man?
yeah.
What's going on?
It's the burden of the white man. They you have to take care of everybody. Uh, that's another thing. I would like to like have. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I think America's dead. We're in the stages of a dying empire. It's on its way out. Uh, but if I could fix things, I don't know. Like I wouldn't even know where to start. I guess I would like try to like repatriate people back to their home countries and like send them off with a little bit of money. Like if we weren't sending like a bajillion dollars to Israel like every year and like stuff like that. Um, One of the things you touched on is like how Africans in America or whatever they get stunted by like social justice or the special like laws made for them or programs.
Yeah, like people on wealth, like it traps them in their own inadequacy and their own shortcomings instead of making a system that prioritizes and that gives incentive to overcome your shortcomings, to make more money, to be more
Right.
wealthy, to be more independent. You made a system that gives rewards for being incompetent.
Yeah.
You made a system that
Well,
rewards being a single mother.
that's intentional. They're breaking up the nuclear family. They want to sow chaos. They want to sow chaos in every way that they can, so they can't people can't pay attention to you know what's going on. You have these everyday battles like with so many things in your everyday life that you're so distracted you'll never like put the pieces together. But
It's
what I was the point I was trying to make there was I think like if America, then like tomorrow we wake up, America's fine. We're not like controlled by a rootless international clique, as Uncle A said. Um, that I would like to cut off all like funding to like foreign third world countries, because it's going to be bad, because when America falls, you're going to see deaths in countries like Africa like
No,
skyrocket.
I don't think so. I
No.
think it would be better for them
Well,
because
yeah.
I'll
Well,
think.
I was getting to that. Hang on.
All right, all
So
right.
basically, what like with the the program stunting thing, that point, right? Um, right now we've been, I don't even know how long, giving money to like Haiti, Africa, all these places, and it's all astroturf. It's growth. It's not like them doing it. It's just stuff that they've been handed. So they now have like these big populations that are completely dependent on us. Like it's not organic. Like if we were never in the picture and weren't giving them anything, their population would be smaller, but it would also be stronger, because they would be like fighting or like developing and growing as people to get to that point. But they have none of those skills because they haven't done it themselves. It's all been given to them. So when that crutch is gone, there's going to be a significant collapse for them, I think. I'm not saying they won't get through it, but a lot of people are going to die because they're dependent on those big Uncle Sam bucks.
The worst kind of bucks these days.
Yeah.
I was going to make a point with textiles in India.
Mm.
Like or maybe it wasn't India, maybe it was another country where there was once a country or a group of countries where there was a textile industry. People made clothes,
Right.
and that was a way to make income because people need clothes. So if I'm poor in a village with other poor people, I could say, hey, I could weave, I could make clothes, so I could start a business. And
Right.
from then on, I could generate capital and build the country up. But because America gives clothes away for free, I can't compete.
Right.
No one can compete with free clothes, especially if you're poor yourself and you barely have enough money.
Yeah.
So by them giving away free clothes, they're removing the industry from the country. Like, why would I make a business selling clothes if America's giving away clothes for free?
Right. Well,
Why
and
make
that's what I
business?
mean. We're giving them handouts like that, and they're not developing. They're just stagnant. They're not doing anything because we keep supporting them in that way. I think we should stop so they can actually like try to develop something. And if they don't make it, I'm sorry, but like I guess that's just how the cookie crumbles.
It's funny that may sound harsh, but to me that's very nice. Because by you saying that, you have shown you have more faith in their ability to survive than people who want to just keep giving them stuff. Because I don't believe you could fix poverty by just giving poor people money. That's not
Right.
how it works.
No, I think it's against nature to like to prop something up like that.
It is, it is. It's like the amount of people living in your country is not what you could support as a nation.
Right.
And it's like, it's a sad state to be. It's almost pathetic, really. Like, you as a nation are failing. Well, you have failed. You're just being propped up by other nations because they just want to have you around as like a pet. They
Yeah.
just give money to.
I'm sure that like not all the money that supposedly is said that goes to them actually goes to them. I'm sure some of it is like money laundered and stuff too.
Oh, it is. It is like Haiti, for example. Who are you giving money to in Haiti? Like, that's a good question.
Right.
Who's the government in Haiti? The gangs? Are they the government?
Right.
Like, even if you wanted to give $1 billion to Haiti, there's a good question. Who are you giving it to?
Yeah.
Even when Haiti had a government before the gangs and stuff took over, it was like, okay, you gave the Haitian government $1 billion. All of the Haitian ministers and people in the government suddenly got BMWs and Hellcat yachts.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did the $1 billion do? Nothing.
Right. Yeah.
Hmm. But tell
Well.
you what,
Oh, sorry. I'll let you go.
back to the Japanese now.
Mhm.
What do you dislike about them?
Um.
What is their racial downside?
I guess some of like I don't know. Some of their social stuff is weird. The way they go about things. Like some of it's like I admire, but then some of it's like odd. I guess. Obviously, naturally, it's alien and foreign to somebody who is not one of them. So that makes sense. But
Hmm.
I feel
Okay.
like I don't know. After they got whooped in World War II, they've been like very submissive. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate to see. I wish they were, still like a really strong nation like they used to be.
Who knows, man? Maybe the next right wing leaders on the cusp of greatness, bro.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully. I mean, hey, look at the bright side. The Jews are getting called out again. It's almost the 30s. Just in time.
Hey, hey, hey! That is fire. It is almost the 30s.
Yeah, history rhymes.
Down. Okay, okay. Next race. Next race. What's the next race?
Well, okay. So if there's an Asian race I'm not fond of, it's definitely the Chinese. I mean, communism for one, all right, and then how they treat their population.
Hmm.
They're I would say they're like I don't know, like country wise, strength wise, like that. Okay, that's like cool, good for you. But other than that, like I don't know. Like I know there are good Chinese people, but the way the ruling class treats them and like how some of them just go along with it, even if they die, like I don't know, just makes me kind of sick and sad.
Do you think it's due to the Chinese people themselves or simply their culture?
I mean, I would say it's both. Like I said, culture is part of race. The how somebody acts. I believe is I honestly I believe behavior is genetic. You could it's observable in animals, and you bring it to the subject of observing it in humans, and people flip out. But it's like you could literally observe it. So I don't know why you'd lose your shit over that, but people do. Um, so I don't know. I don't know like what the mind of a Chinese person is like, obviously, because I'm not one. But I would say yeah, it's probably culture. In other words, also part of their race, just the way they behave.
Okay, okay. Bonus race. Bonus race.
Mm, man, I'm running out here. uh, I don't have a lot to say about most of them. I don't like try to like well, I don't like this race for that reason. I just I accept that every group has their flaws, and I'd say that like under Christ as Christians we are equal in a spiritual sense, but racially we are not. It's just not the case.
All right. Mm. Do your race. Final one. Your race.
Oh, white people. I guess my biggest pet peeve with white people is how like, and it's also just part of like how our culture has been and how we've been brought up is we have very high trust societies, um, and we're very, I guess you could say, naive, um, and we haven't had to like deal with a problem like this where we're being like genocided like through demographics and stuff like ever, besides like maybe World War II.
Mm.
Uh, and I wish we were more like like I wish we could like see it more because like I've like told a lot of people my views, and I've lost friends because of it. Um, and people just don't want to like even start to begin to see the truth or like a different point of view. So some of them are closed-minded, and also they're very naive and easy to manipulate. And I wish people were more like, I don't know, sensible and could see through the bullshit, I guess, as it were. Like they could know there's danger around the corner instead of just relaxing and thinking everything's okay all the time. And the where the world is now, oh yeah, it's going to get better. It's going to go a whole lot worse before it gets anywhere near better.
Mm. The world is getting better. That's one white pill, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, people waking up. It's great. I mean, you're starting to see like conservative shills. Like I don't really like hate them, but I dislike them. Like some of their stuff. It's like some of their takes are like but like the Stu Peters. I'm not a huge fan of him, but he put out the documentary recently or whatever called Occupied, and it's kind of great seeing like Candace Owens and people like that call out the Jews, and then in that same documentary, they're like like an Asian guy basically saying like, yeah, Hitler was maligned and he's been lied about, and he was a great guy. It's great having to see like the Con Inc. conservative Inc. People kind of curtail to right wing views or far right views, as it were.
Hmm. Shields are always a good sign.
Yeah,
They know where the money is.
yeah. Well, I mean, I just hope people will find the better sources out there. Yeah, like one of my favorites is Devin Stack. I don't know if you heard of him. Black Pilled.
Mm.
He does the Insomnia stream on Odyssey.
Yeah.
He's a pretty solid guy. I don't know if you ever watched any of his stuff. He actually did a thing on the. It got cut off, and we were doing our first round, but that's all right. When we were talking about the Holocaust or whatever, he did a thing on the guy I was talking about, Fred Luchter.
Hmm.
Like, if you want, I could try to dig up that show and send it to you sometime. But yeah,
Of course, I'd love it.
yeah. So, did you want to keep going, or I realize we're at the 112 mark?
Is there anything you want to say? Any topic you want to get out there? And I don't care if I get demonetized or not, or taken down or not. What do you want to say?
Um, Off the top of my head, I think. I mean, I'd have to think about it more. I pretty much covered a lot of my bases now. Um, if we did another one like and we planned like a topic and stuff like we both studied or whatever on it and then we came back to each other with our notes, I could probably be better. This is my first time doing anything like this, so um,
All right, then I suppose that we'll call it quits for now. Thank you for coming, Matt Max. I might have you on again. I'll be very interested to have you on again, actually.
okay.
All right.
Okay.
Take care.
What do you
Any words you want to say to the viewers before
yeah,
we leave?
just before I go, do you mind if I plug the show I come on sometimes?
Of course. Plug away, plug away.
All right, you can find me at the Abo Petrol Huffing Hour on Odyssey. I am a co-host. My friend Rand, who's a funny Australian, hosts the show, and that's about it.
All right, all right. Well, thank you for watching, guys. This is the first right wing rants with Matt Max, other right wing rants, and other guests on. But thank you for listening. Goodbye. Like and subscribe. See you guys later.